Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to talk about a single day that completely redrew the map of human conflict. A day when the power of a star was literally brought down to Earth and our world was changed forever. Okay, so let's set the scene. It's August 6th, 1945. We're in Hiroshima, Japan. Imagine this. It's a hot, sticky summer morning. The sky, a perfect cloudless blue. People are just, going about their day. They have absolutely no idea that a cataclysm is silently falling upon them from that beautiful blue sky. So for everyone in Hiroshima, this was just another morning. You've got this deceptive calm in the air, a peaceful feeling that was about to be shattered in the most horrific way you can possibly imagine. Here's what happened. Around 7 a.m., the air raid sirens go off. An American plane is spotted, but then it leaves. It was just for reconnaissance. So at 7:30, they sound the all clear. Everyone breathes a sigh of relief and gets back to their day. Kids go to school, adults head to work. So when another plane, the Enola Gay, shows up at 8:15, people pretty much ignore it. Just another plane, right? And that assumption, that tragic sense of security, would seal the city's fate. To really get the scale of this tragedy, you have to understand what life was already like. Hiroshima was a city already on its knees. The war had just choked its economy. Simple things like eggs or milk, gone from the shops, a distant memory. People were literally growing vegetables in schoolyards just to survive. And cars, forget about it. No fuel, the streets were just filled with bikes and people walking. This was a city that was already struggling just to breathe. Okay, so now we get to the moment that changed absolutely everything. It's 8:15 a.m., a single button gets pushed, and this 4-ton bomb starts its 43-second fall. This wasn't just a countdown to an explosion. It was a countdown to a whole new, terrifying era of human history, the atomic age. So this bomb was nicknamed Little Boy. It was the very first atomic weapon ever used in a war, and its target was supposed to be this really distinctive T-shaped bridge. But then, get this, a simple gust of wind, just a random act of nature, pushed it slightly off course. And its new ground zero? The Shima Surgical Clinic. A placement for healing was about to become the epicenter of destruction. So, for 43 seconds, imagine that, 43 long seconds, it just falls towards the city. And on the ground, people are looking up. They're shielding their eyes from the sun, wondering what that single shimmering little object is up in the sky. It probably looked kind of beautiful, a serene sight. But it was the prelude to the end of their world. And then, at about 600 meters above the city, it detonates. The force is just staggering. We're talking 12,500 tons of TNT. But honestly, that number doesn't even begin to tell the story. In one single, silent flash, the temperature at the very center of that blast hits millions of degrees. It wasn't like the sun. It was the sun, brought down from the sky to completely wipe a city off the map. This city was just instantly plunged into an inferno. And for anyone who was unlucky enough to survive that initial blast, their world had just transformed into a literal hell on Earth. Just a landscape of fire, shadows, and pain that you can't even put into words. Think about this. In a single blinding flash of light, an estimated 80,000 people, men, women, children, were just vaporized, gone. That's nearly a third of the city's entire population, disappearing in less than a second. They didn't just die, they were erased from existence. Let's hear it from someone who was there. Setsuko Thurlow was just a 13-year-old schoolgirl at the time. Her memory of that moment is absolutely chilling. She said, "I saw a bright white light, and then everything went black. When I came to, I was buried in rubble. My friends were screaming, some with their eyes popped out, some with skin hanging from their bodies. The physical destruction was just total. A firestorm with temperatures reaching 4,000 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt steel, just ripped through the city. 2/3 of all the buildings in Hiroshima, gone, just gone. And the survivors, the descriptions are horrific. They'd emerged from the rubble with their skin burned so badly it was described as hanging off them like half-torn posters. And the horror just didn't stop there. A few hours after the explosion, this strange black rain started to fall. It was this toxic mix of dirt, dust, and all the radioactive particles from the bomb. Can you imagine? The survivors were desperate for water, so they drank it. They had no idea they were poisoning themselves, sealing their fate with a slow, agonizing death from radiation sickness. So the first journalist to actually get into the city was a man named Satoshi Nakamura. He gets on the phone to his editor and tries to explain that a single bomb just leveled the entire city. And his editor, well, he just doesn't believe him. It sounds impossible. So Nakamura, enraged, covered in dust and blood, just screams into the phone. The army is foolish. They don't know what we've seen. We have seen hell alive. And while Japan was still trying to even comprehend what had just happened in Hiroshima, the United States was already getting ready for a second strike, a second attack.
Yeah, just 3 days later, on August 9th, it happened again, this time in the city of Nagasaki. The bomb was called Fat Man. It was a different design, using plutonium, and it was even more powerful than the Little Boy bomb. The message to Japan couldn't have been more brutal or clear. We have more of these, and we are not afraid to use them.
The nightmare just repeated itself in Nagasaki. A nurse there, Sano Miyoko, survived, but she was haunted for the rest of her life. Her words really bring home the human cost. She said, "I never asked God to show me this day. Children were burning in front of me. Their cries still echo in my ears. Church, school, home, nothing was left." So what finally led to the surrender? Well, it wasn't just one thing. It was this relentless series of blows. First, Hiroshima. Then the Soviet Union declares war on Japan and invades Manchuria, which opens up a whole new front. And then, bam, the second bomb hits Nagasaki. This proved the US had an arsenal. Faced with total annihilation from all sides, Japan's will to fight was finally broken. 6 days after Nagasaki, they surrendered. You see, these events didn't just end a war. They literally created the world we all live in today, a world that was forever changed, and one that will always live in the shadow of that mushroom cloud. After the bombings, President Truman made an announcement, and it wasn't a message of remorse, not at all. It was a message of power. He said, "It is an atomic bomb. The power from which the sun draws its power has been loosed." He was signaling to the entire world, and especially to the Soviet Union, that America now had a weapon of unimaginable force. You could say the Cold War pretty much started right there. And this brings us to this really strange and troubling paradox of the atomic age. I mean, despite their horrific origins, these weapons, nuclear weapons, are often talked about as symbols of peace and deterrence. The whole idea of mutually assured destruction, this grim balance of terror, has, you could argue, actually prevented a Third World War. But this forces us to ask a really unsettling question, doesn't it? Is this really peace? A fragile truce that's only held together because we can annihilate each other? Where the push of a button could cause millions to be vaporized in an instant, in a way that would make Hiroshima and Nagasaki look small? And that really leaves us with this one final, sobering thought. The same power that ended the Second World War also gave humanity the power to destroy itself entirely. Could nuclear power be the very thing that destroys human civilization in the future? That's the heavy burden, the chilling legacy we all carry from that fateful day in Hiroshima, the day the sun fell from the sky.